And this is obviously Radio Entrepreneurs. Gary Fertigue is with me today. Gary, I am so excited about what Lucia Russo keeps telling me about our Facebook page and how many people are connecting with us.
Need to connect on Radio Entrepreneurs. Please become a fan.
And talking about fans, our next guest, who I've known for a long time, I guess you have more history with than I do.
I've got some history with this gentleman, Bill Kracunas.
You have the notes and pictures.
That's right. From McGladrey. We've spent many an hour together working on a client's problems.
Oh yes, oh yes. Gary, happy to be here today. Happy to be here.
So you're gonna talk directly to the mic, and you're gonna talk to us about cloud computing today, right?
Absolutely, absolutely.
So what's going on? Because everybody's talking about the cloud.
Yeah, no, I would say that it's probably the most frequent question that I get is around cloud computing. I think a lot of people wonder, first of all, what the heck is cloud computing? And then number two, sort of how do I get my business, my small business on? I would say cloud computing for small businesses, when I think of companies that can adopt cloud computing and get the greatest advantages, it's small businesses. Why is that? Because generally their technology is less complicated. You know, if you're Staples, your technology's been around for a long time. You have a lot of different systems, interconnected systems. You know, you've created this sort of web of technology systems over the years that it's hard to change that web once it's in there. But for small businesses, generally they're only running maybe 2-3 systems. So they can move pretty quickly and pretty easily to the cloud. What is it? You know, I sort of use the analogy of back in the 1900s when electricity first came out. Right, it would be common that in this building we're in right now, Jeffrey, that, you know, we'd have down a coal-fired furnace maybe in the basement that's generating, you know, that's turning a turbine, that's generating electricity for our office building.
Right.
And then all of a sudden one day someone knocked on the door and said, hey, you know, you can get rid of all that stuff in the basement and just use this wire and then plug it in and you can have the same electricity. Obviously it was something you did because you could remove complexity, right? Maybe coal and generating electricity probably isn't what you did for a living. And the same thing's going on with technology because the pipe in the interconnectivity of systems, cellular networks, wireless networks, wired networks even, they're getting faster. It's taken the ability to take servers and move them out of offices. There's no doubt in my mind that in the future, you know, maybe in 10, 20 years, companies will no longer have servers in their offices. Why would you? You know, if the pipe is fast enough, why, if I'm in the business, you know, every hour I don't spend focused on what it is my business does for revenue and for my customers, you know, I think it's lost opportunity. And focusing on servers generally isn't the core of what small businesses do. Sure. So, you know, you can simplify your business, and again, I think the limitation is that pipe. Sometimes I'll use the analogy of if you use like a DVR. Do you guys have a DVR player at home, right, for your TV?
Right.
Yeah, but I have a wife to run that.
Right, right. And if you have children, you're lucky if any of your shows actually stay recorded. Mine
That's where I'm usually called, what are you, an idiot? You can't use a remote properly?
Right. I'm like, I watch 2 shows, guys. How are my 2 shows the ones that get deleted? But yet the Real Housewives of I don't know where is superseding my show.
Absolutely.
But if you think about your DVR player, right? When you record a show locally, it's easy. When you go to rewatch it, you can fast forward it quickly and all that. But then you might rent an on-demand movie, right? And that's something a little bit different when you rent an on-demand movie. It's actually not stored locally, it's streaming it over the network to you. But with on-demand movies, sometimes you can't fast forward as much.
Right.
If you stop and you go back later to watch it, it takes like a half an hour to get back to where you were.
You wanted, right?
The reason why is because it's going over the cloud versus the DVR, which is like the on-premise local. But make no mistake that as soon as the pipe gets fast enough, it'll all be on demand. Don't you think Comcast or Verizon would rather charge you for more space in your DVR?
Absolutely.
Right. The reason they can't is because
when was the last time I rented a movie from a store versus just doing on demand?
Well, are there even any stores left?
Well, I still see stores when I'm traveling, but I do everything on demand.
Right. So I would argue even your DVR in a few years, you won't even have a cable box with hard drives in it because they'll just charge you based on how much space you want to use.
Right.
They'll make more money. They have less capital equipment in the field. So, you know, that's sort of the difference of cloud versus on-premise. You could think of your DVR versus on-demand. But it's a huge impact for businesses, especially in the finance department. So if you have a part-time bookkeeper, you know, and it used to be with QuickBooks, you were emailing QuickBooks files around. Now there's these cloud-based accounting systems, whether it's QuickBooks Online, which is okay, Intact or NetSuite. you can get people logged in just with a web browser. There's no more all this complexity. You just say, hey, Jeffrey, you want to work 2 days a week? Here's the website to go to, and we give you a login, and you're good to go. So it's very easy to create a remote workforce and part-time workforce using cloud computing.
Right, and ultimately that's, in terms of disaster recovery, it's much better. Systems aren't sitting in your building, they're off-site someplace in the cloud.
Yeah.
And also in terms of saving on rent. If I don't need all those employees working out of my office, I don't need to rent a big brick and mortar space.
Exactly.
It makes a lot of sense.
And you bring up a good point, Gary, because the number one, I guess, question I get on cloud computing is the security. They're like, how could
everybody's worried if the world goes down, what happens to my stuff on the cloud?
Well, how is it secure? How do I know it's secure?
Right.
At least when it's in my office, I know where it is. Well, I always use the analogy of a bank, right? I'm sure you can have a cash box in your office, but a bank has obviously got much better controls around storing money.
Right.
Why? Because that's what they do for a living. So it's the same thing in the server world. You can't compete with IBM's Fortune 100 class data centers that replicate over different tectonic plates. I mean, there's no way.
But it is basically in a technology space. It's held off into a technology space versus old-fashioned people who still like to copy files and keep hard files on everything.
Right. So it's a different mentality. But again, I would say, could you go down to the bank and actually see where your cash is? No, like who really knows where the literal money is, right?
I thought my wife could.
I'm sure she can. It's under the mattress, she said. Look, it's a good point. But, it is. There's this sort of tangibility that people have.
It's a tangible element. That's,
right.
Thank you for articulating it better. People still feel I need to touch it and see it to control it.
Yeah, right. But over time that's going away. I remember my father wouldn't get an ATM card forever. Because he just couldn't fathom that, how could this be secure? And I still make fun of him today. He's got one finally. But, it's that same sort of, it takes time for people to get comfortable. Once they realize, wow, my business is simpler to operate. It's easier for me to get temporary people as I need them because businesses, they have ups and downs. And maybe I only need a half of a finance person. And it lowers your costs, to Gary's point. So, you think about all that. And really, like I said, the security concerns, just like a bank, though, a bank is more susceptible to a bank robber. Why? Because there's more money there. So obviously IBM's data center is more susceptible to a hacker than your individual company, but it's still, they're going to have much better safeguards than you would.
Right.
So simplicity, less expense, in flexibility. I mean, those are things small businesses need.
And the other objection I keep hearing is it takes time, that there's work to be done back home to organize things before you do that.
Yes and no. Sometimes you will hear that. CFOs often ask me, how do I know, Bill, like when to move to the cloud? And I always tell them, if you have your IT person come to you and they say, hey, Gary, we need a new email server.
Right.
You don't need to know a thing about cloud computing. All you need to know is to ask them, hey, is there a cloud solution out there for that?
Right.
And let them go do some finding, because I'll tell you, email and data backups are two of the most common things moving to the cloud. Why? Because they're very commoditized, very utility aspect of IT. So who wants to be storing tapes and doing tape backups and driving them in cars and putting them in Iron Mountain when I can just, zap it over the internet to a secure server somewhere every night? Same thing with email servers. You can host it right with Microsoft today. Why have your own email server when you could just go right to the source?
Right.
So it's very good. In fact, Microsoft Office has now released Office 365, which is a cloud-based Microsoft Office. So now think about that. If you're a small business, there's no more going desk to desk to upgrade everybody.
Right.
It's just upgrading with each iteration of it, and you subscribe to it. So again, you get the benefits of it, of the improvement of the software with less
capital investment up front.
Yeah.
You're paying on a monthly basis, but it's not that huge that huge expenditure of cash day one.
Yeah.
Now, over the last year, I'm sorry, because only the time's...
That's okay, sorry.
I was going to change the topic.
Yeah.
Over the last year, all of a sudden, you're hearing a lot more about McGladrey in the marketplace.
Yeah.
And I think for a long time, people didn't realize how large you guys really are and how involved you really are in the market. What's changed?
Couple things. That's a great question. A couple things have changed. I think the focus of our firm has changed. Really, we're the 5th largest firm in the country, right? And everybody knows the big 4 firms, PwC, E&Y, Deloitte, right? Everybody knows those 4 firms that are out there. But even though we say we're the 5th, we're actually the largest mid-market focused firm in the country, we focus on the middle market. You know, the large four firms, that's sort of the afterthought for those firms, right? You know, they're looking at General Motors and Microsoft. You know, we would never think, I mean, maybe we do a small project within there, but, you know, we focus on the mid-market. So, you know, I say we're the #1 mid-market firm in the country, and that's really what I'd say galvanized our firm and helped us to focus. You know, so I think that's really helped. And I mean, you know, we are #5 after the 4. You know what I mean? So, I mean, and our core focus is the mid-market. Our firm also went through some changes about 1.5 years ago. We're completely owned by the partners in the firm, and I think that's also helped. And then we've rebranded. You know, we have the McGladrey Classic that we do down in Sea Island, Georgia. That's part of the PGA. That's become a really nice event for us. And then just some of our branding around the mid-market and really sort of focusing our firm as to what we do best. And you know, when you work with mid-market companies, it's a little bit different than when you work with large companies, and we get how that works, and you need to be pragmatic, I'd say. So, you know, a lot of our stuff that we do is, I think, you know, value add, pragmatic, and focus, and really that's come to bear over the last couple of years and given us some good tailwinds, and it's really helping us achieve great things in the market.
In terms of services that the firm offers, besides the normal audit and tax, your specialty is IT. You want to just kind of tell our listeners, you know, where that goes and what kind of services you're providing?
Yeah, I think in the mid-market, you know, companies are looking for more than just what I'd say the compliance. You know, I mean, you need to be bringing more value today to a business, and it's about understanding the industry. It's about understanding the problems that your clients are having and helping them solve problems. So, if you're going to act like a commodity, that's what you're going to end up being.
Right.
So I am in the consulting practice, and I think consulting practices help firms like ours not be a commodity to their clients and be true value add. So I think you're starting to see firms of the future, and I think McGladrey is on the leading edge of this, be more advisory in their approach overall, even in the audit, tax, and consulting services, because we're there to be business advisors and add business value. And yes, McGladrey's got a very strong consulting practice here locally in Boston. We have over 120 people, full-time employees right in our Boston office. Over 40 people, I think, in the Boston office overall. So we have a very nice, well-rounded, capable firm, CPA firm, that really brings a lot of value to our clients in the mid-market here.
That's a lot of talent in one box.
It is. It is. It's great. From my perspective, it's awesome, because when I go to a client, and, you know, varying industries and varying problems, I can bring experts to the table as needed. And if I can't get them out of our 540 people, I can just go down to Connecticut, New York, Philly, you know, and it's great. I mean, we've got somebody who knows, you know, something about everything that we run into somewhere in our firm, and it's great because we're small enough, being the 5th firm, that we still know everybody in the firm, and it allows us to be agile, which helps us be pragmatic to the mid-market. So.
Bill, if somebody wants to contact you, learn more about you, how would they find you?
Yeah, I mean, they can look me up online. They can obviously shoot me an email. I know, good luck with this, william.kracunas@mcgladrey.com. That's an awful long, I'm not going to spell it out. But if you also...
You're going to spell it, though, Bill.
You think so?
Yeah,
all right, fine. Kracunas is how you spell the last name.
It's actually quite easy if you say it slowly, because you write it the way you say it.
Yeah. It's hard when people look at me because everybody thinks I'm Greek when they hear my last name, but the last name's actually Lithuanian. Very important to this segment, by the way.
Right.
So I confuse a lot of people when they look at me.
You're Lithuanian, get out of here.
Get the hell out of here, right? Why are we even talking to you? Jeez.
I thought you were Greeks. I like the Greeks.
Yeah. It's all right, I'm half Italian. Does that count? You know?
Ciao.
All right, good. So that's how they can contact me, through the website as well. I write a lot of white papers, do a lot of webinars in different industries, cloud computing, mobility, and whatnot. So if you go to our website, you'll find my name there.
And if you want to find Bill, you just contact us. Radio Entrepreneurs would be glad to contact you.
Absolutely.
Bill, you're going to come back again. You've been here before. Always nice to talk to you about the cloud. You're one of the few who does come in and talk about that with us, about technology. So we really enjoy having you around.
Jeffrey, appreciate being here. Gary, good to see you, and happy to come back anytime.
Well, if Gary's here, I know you're going to come back.
Absolutely.
I want to remind everybody this is Radio Entrepreneurs, and we'll be right back after this break with more stories of entrepreneurship.